I'm just reenacting World War I. It's going to be a very important topic in today's video. So, let's get right into it. Hi, my name is Liam James, and in this video, I'm going to talk about how the Great Depression devastated post-war Germany and how much of an influence it had on the rise of the Nazi power. There are going to be three main topics in today's video. Number one, post-war Germany before the crash. Number two, the global effect of the Great Depression. And number three, the Nazis' rise to power. So, let's get right into it. We're starting at the start of the 20th century. The world has just come out of its first large-scale global conflict, World War I, the war to end all wars. Hint, it didn't. But that's besides the point. This war saw 15 million soldiers wounded, shell-shocked, PTSD, mangled, and another 9 million killed or missing in action. These numbers dupe any other global conflict up until this point, and the sheer size of the impact of its devastation, from Asia to the Middle East to all of Europe, nobody was spared from this great conflict. At the end of June in 1919, the Treaty of Versailles was signed, which finally brought this half-decade-long conflict to a close. The Allies were declared victorious, and Germany was declared the loser. And when I mean loser, I really, really, really mean loser. They had to demilitarize parts of their territory. They lost parts of their territory. Their military was shrunk. They couldn't have an air force. Hundreds of their people were tried for war crimes, and, on top of it all, money. The treaty declared that the German economy was to pay 132 billion Reichsmarks. Even today, that's still $33 billion. This money was impossible to find at the time. You have to remember, this was a half-decade-long conflict. There was no economy left after this. Nations had been ripped apart, destroyed, devastated, all of their citizens homeless. There was no economy, especially in Germany. Germany was a landlocked city, or landlocked nation, which means that it had no imports, no way to get at the resources that it desperately needed, besides its allies. But when those fell, Germany was left on its own. Its economy was devastated. Europe's economy was devastated. There was nothing left. Nations were crumbling all around. So, if Europe's economy was destroyed, then I guess the real question is, whose economy wasn't? Whose economy hadn't been utterly destroyed by World War I? Can you guess? What about Great Britain? No, I don't believe so. This is muddy water, by the way. No, we were destroyed. France, maybe? Wait, no. Most of the war took place in their country, including most of trench warfare, which don't even get me started. Also, 17 words. I mean, come on, France. No, their economy was destroyed. But what about Russia, maybe? No, it was not Russia. It was America. America had mostly stayed on the sidelines during the war. They only joined in the actual conflict, by which I mean sending troops to Europe, in the very end. This means that their economy was doing fine. In fact, the Allies were buying supplies from America, which means that it was doing great. And they were ready to help the Allies even more. During the 1920s, America's economy was doing absolutely awesome. Some could say booming, some would say it was roaring. But an interesting fact at this point is that Germany's economy has been reconstructed, sort of. There's a new government in state, crafted by the Allies and focused around democracy. Now, the Allies are trying to help Germany get back on track, and so America has been loaning it the money that it needs to stabilize its economy. But then, on October 24th, 1929, it happened. Black Thursday. The New York Stock Exchange started falling. Prices plummeted. Panic selling ensued. America industry fell by 45%. 24% of Americans would lose their jobs over the next 3 years. And so, America, desperate for the funds that it needed to keep its economy alive, turned to Germany and say, hey, we're going to need those loans back that we gave you. And of course, Germany can't do it. Their economy is still recovering. And so, Germany gets tugged into the Great Depression, along with the world. Now, for all intents and purposes, Germany was still recovering by this point. Even a decade after the war had ended, they were still recovering from the devastation of World War I. And now, they had been pulled right back down into it. 58% of German industrial production ceased, and 26% of Germans found themselves out of the job. They had been turned right back to post-war Germany. So what we have now is a world that's depressed. And the Germany is in pretty bad shape. In 1933, polls showed that 60% of German graduating students instantly went unemployed. With homelessness, bankruptcy, filth and starvation piling up, there seemed to be nowhere to go. And I mean it too. The Weimar government, the one installed by the Allies and the one backed by US loans, had failed to acknowledge their citizens. They had failed to do anything. The most important thing to take away from this point is that the public hated their government. They saw it as an inadequate system full of shamed men. So, what to do when democracy has failed? Why, turn to the extremists, of course. During the 1930s, both the National Socialist German Workers' Society, also known as the Nazis, and the Communists saw massive rise in political power. Millions were flocking to both parties in search of change. The Nazis eventually won out over the Communists due to their appeal to the common worker, whereas the Communists chose to appeal to the middle class. The Nazis came to represent the majority vote in the Reichstag, and from there they named Hitler Chancellor. Hitler would then use his powers to alter laws and turn his position into a dictatorship, controlling all of Germany. The rest, as they say, is history. Or in this case, another multi-nation conflict that spanned for years and encompassed the entire globe. The Second World War. And so, there you have it. The Nazi Party took advantage of a floundering Germany and placed themselves as the heads of the nation. And while the world slowly began to pull itself back together after the Great Depression, Germany began to prepare to tear it apart. Thanks for watching. Support comes from ramen noodles and my cats. Have a lovely day.